Greetings on this evening of the day of the sun. It's stormy outside right now, so my camera may be shaking a little bit. But I briefly want to share a video with you, something that I'm led to do. I can tell by some of the comments on my video that a lot of the people that view it are what I call religious spiritual people. You know, people that have one foot on that religious plantation and the other one in the spirit realm. And that's common because we're all feeling the shift right now. You know, some things are going on and our spirits are awakening. We've been reminded who we really are. But I've been there before. I know what it's like. Many moons ago, when I was studying to be an ordained minister, when I began to, back then, before the internet, we had to buy these great big thick books, Greek lexicon, Hebrew. We had to study Hebrew and all those different things. And as I began to get deeper into it, it affirmed some things that I always felt. And the Gnostic text was the doorway for me. It was the gateway. Now, the Gnostic text is very different from the canonical Bible. It was taken out of the Bible for a reason. And once you read it, you'll know why they didn't want this in the Bible. But you'll understand it. And like I said, you decide what truth is. I would say meditate before you read it and seek truth. But the very first Gnostic text, if you're totally unfamiliar with Gnostic text, the very first thing that I would say for you to read would be the non-harmonic origins of the world story. Okay? Once you read that, everything else will kind of fall into place, and you'll understand. And from my own perspective, when I began to read these different texts, it not only changed my vision of how I perceive religion, but how I viewed reality in itself. It talks about the establishment, the foundation of reality. And and like I said, you'll know why. The next Gnostic text that I recommend is the Apocryphon of John. Okay, not the John. Well, it is the same John, not the Revelations, but it's something called the Apocryphon of John. The Apocryphon of John really flows off into that. You get a nice flow from the origin story into the Apocryphon of John, because John's going to say a lot of things, and you can only understand it if you read the origin story. The next one that I recommend that you read after that is the Gospel of Mary. Yes, Mary had her own book. Yeshua and Mary were very close. And to me, he respected Mary more than the apostles. As a matter of fact, Yeshua put her on the pedestal above the apostles. And there were some of the apostles that, especially Peter. Peter did not like Mary because of that. He was a jealous SOB about that. The next one that I would recommend after that is the Book of Judas. The Book of Judas is my favorite. And the Book of Judas centers around, in the regular canonical Bible, Jesus is having a discussion with the apostles, and he pulls Judas to the side. Now, the regular Bible cuts that out, what that discussion was, but the Book of Judas centers around that discussion. And once you read it, it's pretty deep to me. They talk about everything: astrology, numerology, cosmology, and even the Great Mother. The Gnostic text acknowledges the Great Mother and acknowledges the fact that Yeshua is from Babelo, the Great Mother. You will see it when you read it. That's one thing that I like about the Gnostic text. But if you read it in that order, you'll be okay. You'll understand it more, because I know it can be overwhelming if you have not read. I can tell by the comments all of these different things, but it's what I'm recommending is great for people that, like I said, are just coming off that religious plantation, and you'll understand it. Because like I said, it was a gateway for me once I read the Gnostic text. And finally, if you want to take it deeper, you can read Pistis Sophia. It's pretty deep and gets lengthy, but like I said, that's later on. I would not recommend you jump right into that. Okay, you'll be lost in the sauce if this is your first time. But overall, the thing about the Gnostic text is it changed my perception of reality back then and everything. And like I said, it was the gateway for me. And once you read it, you'll know why the Romans and the Greeks, where the Romans came through burning all of the Gnostic and sacred texts. Because the Bible is a lot of dogma, tradition, and it boxes people in. But the Gnostic text was very spiritual and free. And they could not understand what they was reading, so what they had to do, they boxed it in, they dogged it out, made it void of its power, and that's how they came up with the regular canonical Bible and all this dogma. But if you want to be set free, read that Gnostic text. Like I said, if you're just coming off the religious plantation, you got one foot in there, okay, and this will help you and also help you understand what's in your Bible. Okay, it'll take you to another level. It'll change, like I said, but once you read it, it will change your perception of not just religion, but reality in itself. And you will understand why they try to cut it out so much. When the Romans came through, they went into Egypt, and the funny thing about Egypt had already fallen thousands, maybe 1,500 years before that. And they just walked in, like the Greeks, they just walked in and claimed it. And there's a lot of these megalithic sites and structures around the world where the people just walked in. The structures were already there. Like the Aztecs and the Incas, they admit it. They say, hey, we did not build this pyramid. We did not build these temples. These are temples of the gods. They was already here long before we were here. A whole nother civilization of different people built these. But the Romans came through. They walked in and they pushed down south. They were trying to get the resources of Ethiopia. And they went throughout the empire, burning all the Bibles and everything, all the Gnostic texts, and forcing everyone to become Christians. But they could not push into Kush or Ethiopia, because the Romans down there ran into a badass sister by the name of Queen Amaranius. She was an Amazon sister, and she kicked their asses. Yeah. Now you Google, try to do some research. They're going to try to play it off and say, hey, there was a treaty made, there was a truce made. Nah, that queen, the African queen, she kicked the Romans' ass. And something very similar else happened also with the Greeks. The Greeks tried to push into Kush. And there was another Amazonian sister down there, Candace's sister. She kicked the Greeks' ass also. But they never could conquer Kush, Sudan, modern day Ethiopia today, which is interesting because it's been the same thing even through World War II. The Italians came in, they occupied a little while, but Ethiopians kicked them out. But I say that to say that the original Bible is still in Ethiopia. This is why the Ethiopian Bible is very important. It's not considered as Gnostic, but get yourself an Ethiopian Bible. It's the real Bible. It's untouched by the Greeks, by the Romans. Okay? Everyone should have an Ethiopian Bible and have one and read it. And like I said, in an Ethiopian Bible, you have the book of Enoch also, which is another one that I advise. But Enoch is very deep. I don't recommend you jumping into that. I would recommend what I suggested. Start off with those there, and as you progress in time, you'll be able to jump off into the deeper end, because the visions and the things they saw requires deep meditation and an understanding of a different reality. Yeah, it's a different reality when you get into Enoch. But those are some of the things that you can do. I'm going to post a link to a sacred text website that has all of that information. And when you get there, a lot of people have said that it's confusing because it's overwhelming. But do this. Those four that I mentioned, non-commodity origins of the world, the Apocrypha of John, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Judas. Only thing I have to do, you put those in the study and look for those and start there, and everything else will flow for you down there. Everything else will make sense. Okay? When you get to that website, don't feel overwhelmed. Start on those four there and then read the rest of the Apocrypha, the Gospel of Phyllis, the Gospel of Thomas. And there's others there, and it'll make sense for you. But like I said, it will change your reality. And it's time. It's time. We're all experiencing this shift into the fifth dimension, and it's time to take it to another level. It's time to set the people free, time to free your mind. And I know some are not ready to jump off the deep end, like myself. A lot of the videos that I make are dealing with the occultic. And I know people are not ready for that. But there are some out there that are tired of the dogma, tired of what's going on in their synagogues, their churches, and their mosques, and they want to be set free. Start there with the Gnostic text, and you'll have a better understanding of what I'm saying. Like I said, it changed everything for me. And like I said, many moons ago, when I was studying to be an ordained minister, this was one of the things that was the gateway for me. So I've been there, I know. And you get tired of you feel something in your spirit, like something is not right here. Something is just not right. I want to be free. I feel more. And this was way back when. This is for the internet. So now here in 2026, I know the energy is crazy, and I know everyone is feeling it, and some people just don't know what to do. And like I said, if you don't know what else to do, always go within and know thyself. And when you read these Gnostic texts, it's going to help you do that. All right. But like I said, I'm going to place that link in the description. Put in those four books, and I guarantee you'll be on your way. But if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll follow up. But in the meantime, know thyself and take care.